see my car is still up. So
Yes.
yeah, it's not a like he was supposed to leave it for that, so.
Hello, Matt, how are you?
Good.
Natalie?
Did you want to do it as like unrelated public comment or during this?
I didn't know what is it like a presentation?
It's not gonna be a huge discussion like that last week.
Okay.
But you could do it in the time, but. Okay. Started asking. Either way, make it work.
Just wanna know.
Just wanna know.
I just know,
Yeah.
it's not that I
Yeah.
just wanna know what's going on, you know, 'cause
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything since April, so I didn't know like
Right,
what's been discussed, what's the plan, like what's the pathway.
okay.
So I
Did you
just
look?
kinda wanna.
Okay, well, I can talk to you more offline, but why don't I put you during the confusion?
Sure.
Okay.
Great.
It's related and it's second, so it's not like it's super long.
Great.
Unless you're trying to get out of here.
I
you can do
do
it soon.
now.
Yeah. So you got Annabelle in camps or anything?
Yeah, she's doing owl camp at the end of the month. She's boys girl club. It's this week. So I've been brought my
Keep her busy.
Yeah.
She's a spitfire.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I don't know where she gets it from.
Oh, we do, yeah, you have to report out.
Meeting will come to order in closed session. The agenda item regarding student readmittance, student case number 2616. It was motioned by trustee Del Rey and seconded by trustee Velasquez and carried unanimously by a roll call vote to accept the finding of facts for readmittance for student case 2616.
Thank you.
And Mr. Van Uvel, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes.
Stand. Ready to begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
No adjustments.
No adjustments. Thank you. Regarding public comments on non-agenda items, the public may address the board on any consent action item or item not listed on the agenda pursuant to the Brown Act. During this period, the board cannot consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda. Time is limited to 3 minutes per person. Item number 9, approval of the consent agenda. The purpose of the consent agenda is to expedite governing board action on all consent agenda items which do not typically require discussion. Items pulled and therefore excluded from the consent agenda will be acted upon individually. Any item can be removed, deleted, or held for discussion from the agenda by the request of the board. there any requests to pull? Seeing none, do we have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, public comments on agenda items. And I apologize to the four of you out there for all my reading. Members of the public have the right to address the governing board on any items of interest, provided it relates to the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Your request to address the board will be heard at the time the item is being discussed. In accordance with board policy 9323, individual speakers will be allowed a total of 3 minutes to address the board for a maximum of 20 minutes. Can't even read it. 20 minutes on each subject matter. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. The president will take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may add that additional speakers can speak only if they have something new to add. Item 10. 10.1, school business. We have a action item, proposed plans for the Healdsburg Unified School District Aquatic Center.
There we go. All right. So we are pleased to welcome Tanelia Dale back, our construction manager from Counterpoint Construction. She's going to be here in lieu of the entire team because it is late June and folks are on vacation. So, but they have been working hard and have a new design for us.
Can you hear me? Okay. I don't take vacation in the summer. That's probably not a good idea with all the things we do. Speak up. Okay. So we'll get this going. What I'm here to present to you is really a very similar version of what you saw last month and sort of we got your feedback on. There's been a few tweaks and then have a discussion and get authorization to plow forward. So if we can go to the next slide.
Can you do both screens?
I'll wait till you can see. It looks like it's cutting off part of the, there we go. Everybody see now? Okay, good. Okay, so this is just our orientation of the campus. You can see on your left is the north corner where the existing aquatic facility resides, and you'll see sort of an overlay there of what we're proposing as the new plan. And if you go to the next slide. So again, I think it was pretty unanimous. Everybody from this board and the committee thought that rerouting the road around the facility actually solved a whole lot of things and really brought the facility into the campus and gave us some flexibility. I will tell you, we did go back and do a study after the last meeting. There's not enough room to rotate the competition pool, but I think we've done some things and we've talked about a lot of things in our last month to really sort of maximize the outside space around the pool, the deck space, and all of that stuff. So what you have here is we have our 12-lane pool, and again, 8 lanes of competition, and then 4 lanes of shallow water that can be used for all kinds of programs, lap swimming, all kinds of things, can even be used in at the same time as they're doing competition, stuff like that. And then you have the smaller learn to swim pool. I will note that since I submitted this board presentation, we've made one change to that, and it's to address some of the concerns that we had. The ramp, which is shown sort of on the left side of that small pool, is actually going to move towards the building and be a switchback ramp, and then there will be stairs all the way down that left side. And what that will do is allow pretty much continuous in out of that left-hand side with some stairs addressing some of the lounging, some of the access, all that stuff. It still gives us the accessible ramp. It'll make the pool a little bit narrower and longer, but that also gives us a little bit of extra deck space in between the two pools as well. So that change was made in a design meeting last Friday, so it kind of didn't get into this presentation, but I think that is positive towards the things that we talked about last time. And then you have the building on the east side, which is plan top on here. And you've got the men's and women's locker room. You've got the utility space for all the chemicals and the equipment. We've got changing rooms. We've got the lifeguard station, and then staff locker rooms. The other piece of the building is mostly for storage and then that classroom. I did want to come back. We are at 500, roughly 500 square feet on that classroom. That is almost exactly the size of A7 where we had the meeting with the team. I went back and double checked. So I think when we were in that room, we felt like that was a good size for that. And it's 200 square feet larger than the one that you went and saw at Sonoma. So we feel good about that space. I think it's going to serve it well. And it has the roll-up door that allows it to be in-out space as well. I think so. Yeah, I just wanted to go back and do the math and compare, and I did that so that we could have that conversation. And then there's the office and the check-in and the manager's space up there. So lots of little spaces that support both educational program and then user group programs, because we're really trying to, again, design this for maximum use by not just the school and the swim teams, but the community. So we did make outside of that area. You'll see sort of between the cafeteria, if you're familiar where the cafeteria is, and the building, thank you. That is an outdoor area that's going to just be fenced in. One, it sort of closes off the ability to walk through there and have odd spaces. But what we found is we're making that so that we can have extra storage for like the tip and roll bleachers. And that way, if we want to have some events where you want to get the bleachers off the deck, you can roll them out there. They can be stored there, brought back in for events as needed be. But it gives us some more storage flexibility, and it's cheap storage because it's fencing. It's not actual building space. So that's a positive too. Any questions? Again, we didn't show any shade structures on here because we want to get everything nailed down, and then we'll come back, and at some point I can send that to everybody and show you where the shade's going to be, but that's something we're still working on.
Would the outdoor storage area be available for the rolled up lane lines? Remember how that was mentioned at the meeting?
Yeah, I don't think they would take them all the way out there, but the storage building is where a lot of that stuff would go. And that's why it's also right adjacent to the pool, because it'd be easy to get them in and out of there. So, yeah. Yeah, so the dotted line. So again, what we talked about last time is that is really an open space. It's not an indoor conditioned space. We'll probably have gates, but yeah, exactly. We'll have gates to secure it, but the cubbies will not be in an indoor space. Right now, the indoor space starts sort of at the locker rooms area. And then again, this plan, which is a little different than you saw last time, shows that long hallway. And that allows for you to go from either locker room directly down to the pool or to a changing room. So if you have families, like you're all going the same direction. So you have the lobby space, which is again outdoor, and then there's next to the storage space, there is gates that can be open there. So again, if you have an event going, you could have events going through one day, but still have the public coming in and using the warm pool, the smaller pool. You could do all kinds of things. So I think there is another, unless there's any other questions on that. Yeah. So the parking is where the parking is now. However, because now we don't have two sort of edges of that. So on let's see, the east side, which is top of this. Yeah, you can see the parking there. We're going to expand that because you don't have that driveway through there anymore. So one of the things that I've given to the design team is figure out how we lay out the parking better and get more spaces in there. We also, just FYI, because it's code required, we're going to have to put in EV chargers anyways. That's requirement. So there will be EV chargers out there for those cars as well. Yeah.
I still feel like there's this weird dead space. No, they have to get into the food service trucks and whatever, but I mean, I don't not necessarily use the pool.
Yeah. It is, but it's where the dump trucks are going to come in for our trash bins. It's where the deliveries are going to come into the kitchen. It's where the pool chemicals are going to come in. It is going to be very used, and you can't really build anything there because of those facility needs that have to come in from all of those kinds of things. We also talk, again, we're going to have on the around the perimeter of the road, there's some elevation change there. So we've been looking at and it'll be very similar to what you see on the rest of the campus. There's like a retaining wall where the neighbors' fences are. So it'll be a similar kind of thing. Any other questions on the plan? And I just brought these back again. These are not set in stone. We're going to be working on revisiting sort of a mixture of this. We did talk at the last meeting about, obviously, we want to spend the money in the pool and the facility and make sure that's our focus. So we're not looking for the Taj Mahal, but we also want it to blend with the campus and be good looking and all those kinds of things. So these were the two elevations. I don't know that we got a real consensus on one or the other. But I think maybe some mixtures of the two, get some lofty height, but also get some natural light and make it blend with the campus is kind of where we're going. Yeah. 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 And definitely not as much landscaping around the pool.
Well, and it's funny because there's all this planting that obviously is in our plans. It's very lush.
Yeah.
Country
Again, I think,
yeah.
When renderers do fancy stuff, it's not
Yeah,
exactly.
the swim coaches all thought that was like a resort, not a competitive swim pool. Yeah.
Been like tracking those flowers.
Yeah. Can you imagine the stuff we'd be cleaning out? Yeah. So
Today, did you know when we're going to next be talking about this and what the progress, just kind of going forward, what's the expected timeline a little bit?
so I actually have our timeline, and we actually we have a pretty aggressive timeline. So we are charging forward, and we're hoping to actually submit to the state architect by December.
Okay.
So I should have cost estimates and sort of the next phase drawings probably the end of September. So we're pushing really hard, and we'll figure out when to come back and show you guys some new things. Again, cost estimate will be a really good point to figure out where we are with what we've got and whether we need to scale things back or that kind of thing. So
Today was just really for feedback, not action.
No, today's for action to just move
The
forward with
footprint.
it. I mean, this is the basic plan.
Right.
There's obviously a lot of work we have to do to figure out exactly, there's already a couple little things that have changed, but they're not major enough. They're like, okay, we're going to move this wall here so we can get a drinking fountain in and stuff like that. We're actually meeting kind of almost every other day right now, just charging forward with what we need to do so we can meet our schedule.
And ultimately, even if we take action today, you will come back and update us as those changes are made.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
And with more detailed plans, and we'll be able to show you actual elevations that are in the plan.
And we'll have a
stuff like
swim
that.
party at some point.
Sounds great. Yeah. So
About 500 square foot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
A board meeting then swim, yes.
Exactly.
Any other questions or comments? Sorry. That said, I will make a motion to adopt the proposed plans for the Healdsburg Unified School District Aquatic Center.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you very much for your hard work.
Yep.
And now we have the Healdsburg Unified School District Strategic Plan. Superintendent?
Yeah.
No, sorry.
Well, this is,
So when I'm done, we have 2 public comments.
it's hard to read. What I feel like it's really.
All right, so this is our second look at the strategic plan, hopefully our action to adopt it. I just wanted to very quickly, because we did spend time going through it last week in our board meeting, but just to provide another quick glimpse into it. Our strategic plan has 4 specific goal areas with 3 strands that run through each of the goal areas. So the goals are curriculum and programs, which really has to do with student achievement and PLC work. Bridging cultures, which has to do with building a more robust Spanish instructional model in our schools from TK through 12, as well as making our schools be more culturally responsive and culturally sustaining with the Latino culture. And then we have interventions and supports, so support systems, both talking about academics and behavioral and mental health supports, as well as a civic engagement piece. We jokingly and really not so jokingly call this our Saving Democracy goal area that encompasses not only digital citizenship as it pertains to artificial intelligence specifically, but also how to engage in civil discourse as a society and teach and equip our kids for that, and then how to instill a sense of civic duty and citizenship into our students and really take on some civic action projects as a result. So those are the 4 goal areas. The strands are learning, belonging, and partnerships. And they run through with specific subsets of goals in each of the areas. So wanted to open it up to any comment or concerns that you had. But before I do want to point out in your packet, there is the action plan associated with this. The action plan has, I believe, 129 steps. Over 25% of those happen in the first year, but even though it is like a 7-year plan. So we are hitting the ground running and quite aggressive. So actually, that's all I have for you, but we have 2 public comments and then we can do questions and comments. So. And first,
we have a Natalie Winkler.
Hello, I'm back. I just wanted to check
Welcome.
in. Thank you. I appreciate it. I wanted to read aloud the email that I sent a couple weeks ago. I haven't really heard much since the vote for the DLI program was a vote no, but with the caveat of creating a really strong Spanish bilingual pathway. That's something that we can offer to all HUSD students. So as I recover from the disappointment that dual language will not be implemented immediately in HUSD, I must ask the question, what is being done to create a strong bilingual pathway for Healdsburg students starting at the elementary school? I would like to emphasize that students need Spanish every single day to have the possibility of becoming bilingual. What the community and the parents of HUSD students want is for Spanish to become a core subject. Spanish enrichment a few times a week for 30 minutes is not enough for any student to truly learn a language. What is the strategic plan for developing a strong bilingual pathway for Spanish at HUSD? The community and parents have clearly demonstrated a strong need and desire for a robust Spanish program that is available to all students. This looks like Spanish as a core subject, not an enrichment program. This looks like Spanish instruction every day as much as any other core subject matter. Dedicating an hour per day of Spanish language integration is a great start to building a strong bilingual pathway. Here are some suggestions to improving the Spanish program. Reorganize and restructure Spanish lesson planning at HES and FMC to make them more rigorous. Delineate clear goals on what is to be taught and mastered by students according to each grade level. A clear plan on what should be learned in each grade is essential for success. Meet with Spanish teachers to strategize and execute this. Ask them what they need to be successful and provide the resources and the support needed to achieve these goals. Provide a Spanish option for 6th grade, which I know is in the works. Spanish language can be used to teach any other subject. So I would like to point out that the argument that there are not enough minutes in the day is not exactly true. Spanish can be used to teach science, math, music, garden, PE, dance, library, etc. Look for creative ways to teach other subjects in Spanish for more Spanish exposure with the bilingual teachers that we already have and continue to hire. Healdsburg Elementary School has bilingual teachers for music and library already. That would be a great place to start. According to the feasibility study, project-based learning is compatible with increasing Spanish language instruction. Develop PBL units that could be taught in Spanish. This is a big one. Prioritize new hires that are bilingual. This should be a requirement or a very strong preference. This should be a really big priority for the district as the student body is primarily Latino, and we want to expand the Spanish bilingual pathway for all HUSD students. Provide financial support and incentives for all teachers who wish to get their bilingual education certificate. Help staff become inspired and supported to implement Spanish language into the classroom every day. It is clear that everyone supports bilingualism and its many countless benefits for our kids. Let's get to work on developing a curriculum that truly supports bilingualism throughout all HUSD schools. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a Mr. Todd Everett. Not a Mr. Todd, the Mr. Todd Everett.
Good evening. I want to commend Tiffany and the entire team for putting together such a comprehensive and well thought out plan with many mutually reinforcing actions, which I think, makes it more powerful and more effective. But I have an overarching question that I think will help guide us as we make this plan a reality. And that is, what do we want our students to be capable of when they graduate? We have a strategy, some action plans, but I think it'd be really helpful for all involved, whether it's the teachers, the students, its parents, community members, to know or be able to answer, how does a student who graduates from here embody the strategy? I want you to reconsider, if you haven't already, which you may have done, and please excuse me if I'm saying things that already have happened, but that you develop and redevelop a portrait of a graduate for the plan, and have seniors present a capstone project in the spring of their senior year that demonstrates how they embody the portrait. This addition to your plan will provide focus for everyone who's involved, because that's our North Star. We're looking for our graduates to have these 4 or 5 qualifications, attributes, characteristics. It's an authentic proof. It's not a score on a test, which are important as a yardstick, but it will allow us to see the reality. And we've seen that with the internship program. It's just amazing when you see students pull together their learning experience. This would give them the ability to take the 4 years of their high school and bring that before their peers and for the community. If it happens in the spring, it would not be all they have to do is present it. It's not going to affect their graduation. There may be levels, such as proficient or, could you have improvement, but that would be important feedback. And the feedback's to them. But what a validation of all their hard work, and what a great way to tie all the things that you're working on together. So I'm going to address my remarks now to the civic engagement pillar, which, thank you so much, for including that. It's, I think, going to really make a difference. But what I'd like to encourage, if it's not in there, Tiffany hasn't already thought this through, is that the learning cover other subjects besides civil discourse, digital citizenship, social media literacy, that it uncover public
1 minute.
Okay, public problem solving, and what power is, how to make a difference, alternative systems of government. So I want to let you know that the State Board of Education has recommended that this California Civic Seal of civic engagement will be in the LCAP, and that can be a motivational tool. How many of our graduates, are actually certified for the Civic Seal? The evidence is clear. Students learn more when they're engaged in subject or relevant. This will really give them a focus. Finally, I'd like to say that if we can have a future-ready graduate who, as a result of this, it's going to make an enormous amount of difference. And that we need to accelerate for the civics piece. Instead of doing 2031 let's shoot for 2039. We'll have a new president. We're gonna have a lot of energy. 29. Thank you. I know they're tough, priorities and stuff. I encourage you to advance those for civic engagement.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Okay, questions or comments from the board?
I'll start only because Ms. Winkler was just here and one of my first things. And I know you have the answer to this. I just didn't see it as I went through this. On actually the first page where all the squares are, talks about the differentiated Spanish. My question on a lot of these are, when does this begin?
Yeah, we're going to start right away in the fall with the Spanish teachers to create a TK-12 scope and sequence, so that beginning at the outset through the end, with the goal of trying to get every student through Spanish 4, I would say, at the high school at least, if not to AP, that we can scope and sequence it out. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I do believe that it's fully possible to have all students complete Spanish 2 before they hit high school, which would make it much easier for everybody to get through AP Spanish, coming from a former Spanish teacher. So that is going to start right away. That's part of the first outset in the strategic plan.
And then all the way.
Yeah. And actually, and Natalie referenced it in her comment, we actually created, it's an interesting issue. We created a full-time Spanish position for the first time at the junior high for this next school year. And we started a 6th grade Spanish elective. We have 15 kids enrolled in the elective out of 90 some odd. That's by choice. Yeah, that's by choice. And then we weren't able to fill out the 5th section of Spanish. We just didn't have enough student interest at this point. So, and I do think as we build it, there's going to be more interest, right? That comes, and that's going to be a conversation for further down the road in terms of when you do hit junior high, and there's going to be competing interests, right? Are we going to make it mandatory that everybody continues in Spanish, or are we going to make it an elective? And you will have conversations if you make it mandatory that you are taking away from the arts and engineering and other electives that are there. So it's a nuanced issue. We're not to that conversation just quite yet, but we do have just a little bit of preliminary feedback. But again, it's very early, and I think we can create more demand as we build up the program itself. So.
And if I may just, again, I appreciate that item, bridging cultures, not just the Spanish part, well, obviously our Latino population. I just want to comment, I'm very pleased that it's in the strategic plan. I know we've talked about it for a number of years, to having the Latino culture more present on campus. And I just look forward to that, and I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
And hiring practice is a big part of it. I mean, we actually have an expressed metric that we will look at every year on trying to have a certificated, not just teacher, but counselor and administrative staff that at least has, we're working towards having the same percentage of Latino or bilingual staff as we have Latino students. So that's a goal that's expressly in there. That'll be a district metric moving forward. So.
And it's been a goal.
It has been,
but now before that,
it's going to be on our district scorecard and something that's held up.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
I just wanted to mention that Chris and I had a conversation about this issue of having only elective options in junior high. That, I personally believe that it's really important that kids in the junior high age group have an opportunity to just explore things that they might be interested in. And right now there's such a wonderful offering of electives at the junior high, and it's always changing. And I think it really makes a big difference in kids' just overall joy at school to be kind of able to take weight training if they want to, or take art or whatever. And of course, if you're on the band track, then band is taking up one of your electives throughout. And that, I think is just super, super enriching for the students that decide to do band. And so I was just encouraging that if there's any way that we could look at sort of creative and alternative scheduling options to make sure that Spanish is really available to every student, along with an enriching curriculum of electives. That I just feel like they've made some really substantial changes in the structure of the day at the 6th grade level at the junior high that, in my opinion, were just awesomely improved. And it took a lot of cool creativity and thinking to create that 6th grade program, which was just so wonderful for my student. And I get the same report from every other parent of a 6th grader. And so I just wonder, I think there are students who are very motivated to continue their Spanish studies if they're rigorous and interesting. And if we are able to offer some shorter class period, some 0 period. I mean, I don't even know what all the options are. I really hope we can explore that as a way of just looking at at the whole student and the whole student's kind of strength to concentrate throughout the day, and having Spanish be a part of that, not just for some of the students, but for really anyone who is even, I just don't know that a straight opt-in is going to be the ticket. So
we'll talk more about that, but we had a good conversation and some creative ideas. So
well, I just wanted to say it at the meeting too, that I really feel like the ways that we've, and I hate this phrase, but thought outside the box about things in a student-centered way have been super effective over the last few years. And I just encourage us to keep going with that. We know what's right for our community, and our principals and staff and teachers, they know. And so there's a lot of options.
Other questions? Okay, I have one. Moving down a couple of pages, and I wish in the future you would paginate the pages, so when I refer to one, you would know what page I'm on. So it's about a couple of pages down, and this is, I will admit, I'm not sure if peeve is the right word, but a concern I have when we compare, and I'm looking at, if I can find it here, 308. Anyhow, when we use baseline statistics is what you were talking about, and currently Latinos may be at 69% and all is at 79 or something, whatever it is. The failure for us to understand and to see clearly that if Latinos are at, let's say, a 69% proficiency and everybody is at 79, that means that 1/3, which are white, are not at 79, but indeed probably like 89 or 90, because they're 1/3 of the population. I think it's just misleading. And as I look at that, we only have 10 points to go. We really have 10, and I know we don't want to compare, but we do compare.
Well, we're not. I mean, so moving forward, we part of this strategic plan is adopting a strategy is targeting universalism,
Right.
Where we won't. I mean, I'm with you. We will look at all subgroups, including white students, but it's not that we're going to examine the gap between the top achieving students and another demographic subgroup. What we're going to do is set a high expectation for all groups and really focus on the groups who need more support to reach that high expectation. And so we won't be necessarily chasing gaps as much as we'll say we want 70% of all students, period, to meet A to G, which would be an extremely high number. And then what are the subgroups that have not met it, and what are we going to do to help those subgroups meet it? And when there is a subgroup above it, great. Not that we ignore them. We continue to work on that and make sure that it's sustained, but we're not necessarily chasing those gaps. So,
and I guess my point is, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
But when we look at that, we identify whatever it is, Latino, but we do not identify the other third of the population.
Which metric are you looking at specifically?
It's the scorecard.
Right, I know it's the scorecard, but which metric?
Measures?
CAS measures?
The 68s and the.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Latino 64, all 76.5.
Yeah, I don't know the data off the top of my head. I could tell you A to G, the white was like almost to 80, right? But I don't know off the top of my head the CAS. But I agree with you. Like, we will list
just
every subgroup just so we know.
Again,
but we're not. Again,
I'm not talking about
chase the gap.
Yeah, about closing the gap or everybody getting to there. But when we say all, if we're gonna pull out one subgroup, and Latino, we need to pull out if there are other subgroups that are
statistically relevant. Yeah,
whatever. I mean, we
I hear you.
No,
Yeah,
anyhow, that are statistically viable.
right.
But we have at least one more that is, and
Sure.
if we're
Yeah.
going to say one, we should say all, just so we
Yeah.
know where we are.
Yeah, and I don't even know off the top of my head if they actually are at or above the percentage that you're looking for. So, yeah.
Would you say that term again? Because
Targeted universalism. I'm going to send you all an update with a reminder of it.
because I keep forgetting what the term is.
And I searched and could not find it. I know it's
May
probably
1st
buried
update was
in the
I'm
superintendent
actually just
update,
taking
in
it
a
out
link
of, yeah.
inside the superintendent
It
update,
is,
which
yeah.
I'm sorry. I
No, there was actually quite a bit of narrative and a link. Yeah. And I hit it actually in December too, but it's okay. Yeah. I send you a lot of things. So, yeah. So tomorrow you'll get another update that has that same narrative in there and a reminder. And it comes out of UC Berkeley. And because it doesn't, it is less deficit thinking and more really hyper focused on the groups that need the support to get there and not why they're not achieving it, but like, how do we help them? It's a better approach. So,
Well, and I felt like when we were at CSBA a couple years ago and listening to the districts that had been really successful in kind of implementing strategic plans, it involved exactly the kind of thinking that Chris is describing. And I found it really inspiring to hear from people who had done it. It's like it's more detailed and granular and has to do with identifying subgroups and kind of like continuing to support those subgroups throughout, but never really changing kind of what the big picture is. So the big picture is for everyone. And then there's lots of little, there's lots of subcategories and actions underneath that. And I really think that to make this work, that's how we have to think about it.
Yeah.
And it does seem, I mean, it's an interesting idea.
yeah, I mean, if you play it out to its conclusion, if you were examining the gap between different groups of students every year, it's going to change, right? Some years is going to get better, some years is going to narrow, because as we talked about when we went to all these things, seldom is progress just completely linear, right? Like you got to look at it over time. It's going to go up and down and just hopefully be sustained. But when you're just looking at a specific subgroup instead of the gap, we can really hyper focus on how do we get those kids to X point and what do we need to do to help them. So,
well, and those additional supports and identifying things are built into the plan from kindergarten on, TK on. So it's, ideally these things are being addressed along the way through just like good teaching and, you know, interventions and supports. And
so I'm going to bring in what Natalie said and what Todd said. I like the way that Natalie looked at enhancing Spanish language instruction. And I got some ideas about how I would go about doing that, specifically at the elementary level. But when we start talking about it at the junior high, I think that that's also, some of those ideas can be incorporated into that. I think it's not specifically in the strategic plan so much as it is in the implementation of the strategic plan.
Right. Yeah.
And so even though it might not be delineated here, it's something that we can keep in the front of our heads about it. And I really appreciate Todd's expansion of the civic strand because when I look at the world, the political world today, the world that I have to operate in today, I get down to things like teaching our students to be polite, saying please and thank you. I'm sorry. When you've got elementary school kids who are not saying please and thank you, you have not done your job. And I mean, that's a teacher, that's the teacher in me. And using the correct tone of voice when they're speaking to adults. I mean, I really, there are standards. And I think we got way far away from having any kind of civil discourse standards of how you do that. And so I'm glad it's in there. And I like the idea of it, of really looking at what civil discourse means and how you do engage in that.
Yeah. and-
Because
and
I don't think we're doing that right now. We're throwing bombs at each other. all
as a
the
society,
time.
yeah.
So,
Agreed. That's why it's in there.
and we have to address that. I mean, I keep coming back to this all the time. I can vote, but I can't really change what's happening between the way senators speak or the way the president speaks when he addresses the public. But I can work in my local kindergarten classes to make sure that we're instilling in children what civility is.
Yeah.
And it's such a core principle of operating in a democratic society.
Yeah, I agree. And
be able
to
to do
Todd's point that and I want to reassure him, the civic engagement piece, which he's really focused on,
What he focused
it is
on.
embedded in there. It's in the belonging. So it doesn't hit as a bullet necessarily as hard, but it is in that bullet about expanding or strengthening student voice, and then as well as expanding student-led inquiry, civics projects, et cetera, public exhibitions. So it does live in there. And there's some implementation pieces that have to happen, as it's going to evolve as we do it. But I do think we did incorporate exactly. Todd actually gave us standards, national standards to look at. It was very, very helpful when we were putting this
exactly.
together. So, yeah.
So it is,
Yeah.
I mean, I get what the strategic plan is.
Yeah.
And the implementation of that strategic plan is
Right.
a separate kind of.
And it's going to evolve as we go, right?
Yes.
I mean, yeah. And we'll talk about it as we move. So.
I just want to add I've never really been wedded to the whole portrait of a graduate that the county did, but something really has resonated with me around, we've spent a lot of work on this and a lot of drill down and a lot of details. And I almost do feel like we've kind of forgotten a little bit about that whole teenager, not a child, but and like, how does this all manifest into what we want these graduates to be? Maybe this is something that can come out in the material.
It's something we can work towards. We asked those same questions at the outset at the town halls. That's how we got here. We didn't create a portrait of a grad per se. It's I'm not saying it's a bad thing. That's kind of a tired process right now, educationally speaking. That said, I don't have a problem with identifying. I mean, we started to even in our values and vision statement, right?
Right.
And then that'll be a great way to work with staff is like, what are the end goals that we're trying to get to with these things, right? And have the staff help us meaningfully identify that. So I don't disagree with it. And those were the very conversations we had to get to where we were at.
And I would suggest not end goals just for the grads, but end goals for fourth graders. All the same pieces, not,
you're working towards this. I think we have to look at it systemically, right?
This skill set, or we'd like you to have this skill set, or whatever. All those pieces, again, that's what gets you at the end.
Well, that's your scope.
And one key piece, and that maybe this is me needing to translate, is the eventuality of the PLC process is standards-based grading, which is inherently skills-based. It's not about just doing your work and getting the right amount of points so you got an A, right? So it is the fact that in English, you can write a coherent statement and support it with evidence, right? So some of this work is baked into it. It's just it's a different process.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I love our vision statement. The every day, every student is thriving, learning, thriving, and empowered for success. But again, it's almost capturing a moment by moment in our classrooms every day with every student. And that's awesome. I love that for our vision. But I don't know. Now I'm thinking about how does this all kind of accumulate into that person walking across the street.
And it's a good next step, honestly. Yeah.
It's a great question. And I do think there's a relationship between what you're saying and this idea that we've struggled with throughout this long process of kind of like, what does it look like to have a third grader who's has all these values? Like, we can't just talk about it as the full project, but like, how do you make incremental progress towards the project throughout so that every year students are benefiting? And I think sometimes it's semantic, and other times I think it's not semantic, that it's actually really important. And then now, our two older kids in our family are going to be juniors this year and have been at HUSD for their whole academic lives. And I have a lot to say about what I think the values are that what I think they've learned during that process that is a whole different conversation than this. right? You know, there's all the vicissitudes of teacher changes and administrative changes and years that worked and didn't work and COVID. And, you know, there's a lot of things. It's a long, involved relationship that they have with this institution here. And so when we're talking about, and I'm really, really awake to, because of their friends and everybody they go to school with, how different the experience is for different students, right? So you can set up all these things for students to really benefit from and be ready for career and life, you know, after high school. Some of those things happen and some of them don't, you know, and some stick and some don't. And some kids that come in ready to learn some, and, you know, so it's all over the place. So how do you like get to, these are a group of people teaching a group of people, and the most efficient version of that with the most students benefiting from, you know, from a structure that is stable and sound and well organized and well designed and all those things. So I feel like, you know, it's a super interesting thing to be like, what do we want everybody who graduates from Healdsburg High to say about their time? You know, like, who do we want them to be when they're done?
They're all going to be different.
Right.
But
Maturation.
the idea,
Right.
They're not adults at 18.
the idea of creating essential standards for everything in this plan and having the teachers scope and sequence it out so that at every grade level there is a clear outcome for students is inherent in the strategic plan. So yeah,
And that's the foundation
Right. It
for
is.
sure, right? Is that whole cohesive plan and teachers
Correct.
communicating and great first instruction and all those things. That is
Right.
the foundation. Yeah.
That's the most effective thing that I've seen since I've been on this board is the work of the PLCs and the collaboration that goes into those and the level of focus. I just feel like it's such a big, important part of what's happened since I've been on the board that I've seen really, really work. So, you know, and I think it addresses all the things that are in this plan, but we just have to, I think we all need to feel like the plan is both stating who we are and stating who we want to be. And stating what we want to do for our students is, and what we want our students to be is part of that too.
right.
It's harder than it sounds.
I just have a quick question about the theory of action, and I might be getting ahead of ourselves when we're talking about the communications later, but
That's a board policy, right?
okay, so this is
That's
not
not-
something that's going to be articulated.
That is
in
intended
some-
to be guardrails for the board and the future administration and the teaching staff of the schools.
Okay.
Period. Yeah,
Because the wording is horrible.
it is supposed to be. Yeah, as all board policies are.
The if and then
Yeah.
is really hard. So as long
It
as
is.
it's just
Yeah.
an internal thing, it's
Right.
fine with me.
Yeah.
So just to poke the bear just one more time. I'm looking a couple pages down, my page 314 in my whole packet. And this is just one, and I know you have an answer, so please. It says provide PD for teachers on best practices, responsible staff, DCI, DSS principles in place by June 2033. I mean, it's in place now.
What's the goal area?
4.3, it's the last page, toward the bottom of the last page.
Yeah, so that's the civic engagement. Unfortunately, as we were scope and sequencing it out, did tend towards the end of the poll process just because we had to make decisions and Todd was imploring us to do it faster, and we may. But that so specifically is PD around civic engagement for staff. So we need to come up with a scope and sequence of how we're going to do civic engagement and then train staff how to do it, right?
We really want to wait until 2033?
We have
Love to
a,
have it all done tomorrow.
we'd love to have it all done, but
I'm saying, but I mean, that's a long way to say. okay,
it is a long way to go,
we'll get down
but there's no way to do this entire plan in 2 or 3 years. Like that's just impossible. There's no district that would undertake
And it's
that.
not saying we're going to wait until
Right.
2033 to get started. It's saying
Yeah.
that's when we're going to have a firm result.
Right.
Yeah, completely.
there. Okay, I knew you had an answer.
Yeah.
I just point out, it's like, and I know.
I mean, if we want to hire a whole bunch more people, yeah,
Yeah, you went
then you
to
could do it a lot
Gainesville, et
faster,
cetera,
but
and-
you also have to build buy-in and give teachers time to be able to do it. And we don't
Absolutely.
have time with teachers, really. I mean, like we have a few days at the beginning of the year and then we can do sub days with them. There is not a lot of time for a lot of professional development in the school system as it exists. So that's something we're gonna have to work on.
There you go.
Yeah.
Let's see if I have anything. No, that's it.
While he's looking, I just want to tell you that when I was reading this, I want to compliment you and Tiffany for, and actually I recognized a lot of Kevin's work in this. I really like the fact that we have a plan and that we're implementing it. It's very exciting.
Well, we
So-
don't have a plan yet.
No. Yes, you have a framework for your plan. And I just want to really thank you for all the hours that you have put into this. It's huge.
No, and it's exciting. Like, I
And
think
it's
we are all
very
genuinely excited by it. Like there were some unexpected things that came out of it that, you know, especially in that fourth goal area that I don't think originally we had conceived of. And so we're really excited to implement it. And I'm excited to have this hyper focus as a district where we can really align resources and efforts and really push, because we are already realizing incredible achievement for our kids. And I think it's the sky's the limit here. So we're just starting to see what we can
I
actually
think
do.
it's very exciting.
Yep. So I meant to say, we don't have a plan yet because you haven't approved it. So we are looking for approval today.
So how
Yeah.
does this come back to us on a regular basis?
So there's
The progress.
Yeah, so part of that is the metrics, right? So district scorecard, we talked about this last week. The principals, we have a vision for principals giving, so I'll give you periodic district updates, but the principals are going to give you site-based updates with their own metrics that point toward the district metrics 3 times a year. So their part of it would be the school plans that they do at the beginning of the year. And then we'd have 2 check-ins during the year where they share with you their site scorecard. Again, same goal areas, not necessarily the same metrics, because instead of a CASP goal, it would be an NWEA goal or whatever. So, yeah. So you'll hear about it all the time. And then we'll, of course, do at least once a year kind of an update on progress, right?
So I mentioned last week that we start on our agenda, that our agenda reference the strategic plan.
Like that.
Yeah,
And-
we haven't had a time to fully vet that, but we're in
No,
agreement. And we
just-
will, yeah.
However you guys,
Can be how we orient the agenda, could be on the cover pages, but yeah.
however you figure that, because I think that when we talk about communicating to the public, one of the ways that we communicate to the public is through our agenda.
Excellent.
And that if it's referenced right here,
Yep.
Yeah,
This is-
I do recall that, and I don't think there's any disagreement. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Judy.
Everything in the agenda is related to the strategic plan, so.
No, but we can make sure
Yes,
it's
but to-
pointed out and
more
aligned,
specific.
right? Yeah,
All right. Exactly.
right. Yeah. So we could put goal areas from the strategic plan on the cover sheets. We could maybe reorient some of the ways we lay out the sheet, the agenda itself. So we just haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. So, yeah. No, I know. Yeah.
I move that we accept the strategic plan.
And I'll second.
Oh, they're fine. No, you're fine. I was just gonna
I
second.
have a motion,
Yeah.
2 seconds. All those in
Well,
favor?
she can talk before we vote if she has.
Oh, no, I just was gonna second.
Oh, you're going to second.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wants to
sorry.
vote.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent.
Now we have.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
And the Healdsburg Unified School District Local Control and Accountability Plan, also known as LCAP, and local indicators.
I just love that LCAP.
Okay, so last week when we met, I had a longer presentation for you, and I was trying to make sure that you understood how we had taken a look at the LCAP and that sort of thing. But I felt like from your questions that you had some more direct questions around what's in each goal and what's changed and what's staying. And so that I made a few new slides, not the old ones, so that we could kind of look at that together.
Okay.
Okay, so we have 4 goals, just as a reminder. The 4th one is specific to Marcy Becerra Academy and is an equity multiplier goal. And that is it's really not changing. So I want to just talk about goals 1, 2, and 3. So in rigor, the main things that are continuing are PLC process, our MTSS framework. We have early literacy support. So those are things that are really specific to just the HES campus that are really relevant to TK through 2. And then we have services for students with disabilities. But what's adding in there, and so you can see like that's the big stuff, but what's added in there is we now are in differentiated assistance for students with disabilities because that subgroup of students is not performing well. And so we are in the red on the dashboard in 2 areas. And so and one of them is math. And so that really brings us into focus. And that's an area that we need to work on, particularly in rigor for students with disabilities. In addition, our math area is not as robust as our ELA. And so we're really focusing on our secondary math. I want to say great results in junior high this year. And we're, the high school teachers are really interested in working on some changes and taking a reflective look at what they're doing and how they're teaching math. So that's all very exciting. And that is in this goal 1 of rigor. And then we are doing a partnership with the SELPA, the inclusion cohort that Kevin has brought to the district through some collaboration with the SELPA. That's going to be primarily at the junior high. That's where it's going to start. And there's some really great teacher training that's going to happen to help the teachers understand how to co-teach with one another. Because what can happen in an inclusion setting is that the special educator ends up being sort of an assistant. And so we don't want them to be an assistant. We want them to be a co-teacher. And so how they'll be learning things like how to plan together and taking the time for that and who's going to take what in the instruction and just how to make that really work in an effective way so that you're utilizing the skills of that special educator as well as the skills of the general educator in the general ed classroom. So that's a really big lift, and we're hoping for double duty on the differentiated assistance for students with disabilities, in particular with that lift. And then we are building clear and systematic Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports, which sounds kind of like up here, but what that means is we're going to talk later in item D, about the bell schedule changes. So there are some bell schedule changes that are kind of needed in order for us to build in some Tier 2 supports, particularly at the secondary level. And junior high is doing that with their bell schedule change. And then we are also taking a look at how do students move into those different tiers, and then who's responsible for those tiers, and how do we document what happened for students? Were they successful? Were they not? What did we do next? And then that kind of also brings us into the data systems with Panorama, because that's where that data lives, and that's where teachers can go to look and have some early warning signs about when students are kind of, so that they don't fall through those cracks. And then alignment of academic, behavioral, and social emotional supports. So I guess it's really going to be TK through 8th grade next year. They're really looking at this thing that we learned about in our PLC trainings called behavior academies. I was trying to get my B's and A's all right there. Behavior academies. And so let's say that a student is really struggling with a particular behavior. They would have an opportunity to have a 6-week course with a person who's going to give them that coursework as a little pullout, or maybe a small group. So it's probably the counselor going to, implement that course. And then the goal of the course is that we mitigate that behavior. So it's a neat way to look at it, and we're excited about that. And then the why it matters, I'm not going to read that to you because definitely you already know why it matters. Okay, I'm ready to go to goal 2. So in relevance, all those things are staying, like the big picture of college and career readiness, active learning, multilingualism. But where we're enhancing is multilingualism is becoming a larger priority for next year, which you've seen in the strategic plan, because we're really pushing to have that Spanish PLT so that the Spanish teachers can work with one another to build a scope and sequence, so that they can understand that if we're going to get kids through Spanish 2 by the end of 8th grade, what does that look like by the end of 5th grade? What does that look like by the end of 2nd grade? And how much time is dedicated, as we heard about, how much time is dedicated during a school day or a school week to make sure that that happens? Do we have enough Spanish teachers to do that? Just a little question mark. And then 9th grade. We do have Universal Avid that we started this past year. It was very successful, but we're continuing that. And that's teaching all 9th graders the Avid strategies that they can use then through the rest of high school. And so I just came back from an Avid training, and Avid is, I was really fascinated. I hadn't had an AVID training before. And so it's about rigor. It's about understanding what the opportunities for college are so that the kids go on those college visits and they really get to experience that. And then it's also about building the relationships. The classroom in an AVID setting is intended to be like a family. So when you give that to all of your 9th graders, not just those who applied to it, you're giving them a lifetime of success after that, because now they know how to do all of these things and they had that great experience in 9th grade. So it went really well this year, and we're looking forward to next year. They're really enhancing it, and some of those teachers were at the training and they were collaborating and working together on what are we going to change, what are we going to do differently next year. So they're pretty excited about it. Another bell change our bell schedule change we'll be talking about later is using those ELOP funds for elementary enrichment, not just what we are thinking about when we say elementary enrichment, which is kind of that half day. So we'll have that early release, and then kids have elementary enrichment. The buses will run at the usual time, so parents are encouraged that their children stay for elementary enrichment. But even beyond that, there's lots of after-school activities now at the elementary area or elementary campuses that are being funded through ELOP. And so that is really in this active learning strand. And it's a lot to get that all organized and going. So I just want you to know it's really exciting, and families really are appreciative of it. But it is a lot for a lot of lift for everybody to make that happen. So that's why it's in the plan. And then our certificated arts teacher at the elementary level also comes into this area of active learning and college and career readiness, because she'll be able to take those standards that we have determined and start them off in TK with a certificated arts teacher. And you know why it matters. Okay, goal 3 is about relationships. And so those things are really staying. Again, the big ideas of family engagement, counseling, wellness supports, school climate. So what's being enhanced is family outreach. We're really looking at ways that families can help their child at home and trying to help them understand how to do that. So for example, one of the things that you approved during the consent agenda was called LineWise. And so if you recall LineWise in your consent agenda, it is a way that families can actually have some content control and some hours control over those Chromebooks that are coming home in junior high and high school. So in order to have that, we want families to come in and we'll teach them how to do it. And talk through and help them set those up. So we're excited about our family outreach coordinators working on that next year to help families provide that, reducing the screen time, reducing the things that kids can get to when they have those Chromebooks from us at their homes. So that's pretty exciting. There's also other great content and training for parents that's available through LineWise if they choose to take a look at it. Also, feedback, and events all in one digital space. I'm really excited about that. That's something I've heard about since I started as the principal at HES. Everybody wants to know what all the events are, and they want them just in one space. So we're going to get started with that next year with sending out, we haven't decided yet if it's quarterly or monthly, but events for the whole district in one place to all families. That's exciting. Behavior academies, I already talked about back in the rigor because it happened to come up in the MTSS part. It's here again. And then reducing suspension rates by increasing clarity and training regarding discipline. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but many of our suspension rates were high for students with disabilities as well. That was the second area that we were in differentiated assistance for. And when we went and kind of dug into that data, it turned out a lot of it was from nicotine vaping. And you get automatically suspended for a day. So when in talking with principals, it's actually not state required to be automatically suspended for a day. And so it would be better for them to have that remediation and support and that behavior academy and not get to go home and vape while they're there. So. Yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
good for
So we
you,
think
Tiffany.
we can drive that suspension rate down right there. Yes. And so, sometimes you don't even know that that's the perception. The principals had the perception that that was a requirement. And then use of Panorama for short surveys and absence tracking. Kevin and I are really excited about the absence tracking. He's the SARB man, and he likes to use that.
Look at the expression on his face.
He likes to use that dashboard and talk with principals and counselors about specific students who are chronically absent. And one of the things that we found out this year when we go back and look at our data is that by the 13th day of school, we were already at a chronically absent rate that we stayed at for the rest of the year because it's the same kids. And they start off absent and that they doesn't get any better. So by the middle of September, we're going to know their names and we're going to be able, we didn't see that until we had Panorama showing it to us on a graph, right? So now we know. Now we're going to be really on that. Yeah. Okay, next.
So I have a quick question,
Yeah.
and it is about the outreach to families.
Sure.
And I'm not asking you to get into great detail, but I mean, that is certainly one of the things that I know we've been trying and working on for years and years.
Yes.
So hopefully you have a plan for that.
I have some exciting thoughts on that. I actually went to a little thing at SCO on how to engage families, and our speaker said, okay, so everybody picture this. You just got home from working your 10-hour shift and you are tired and you got to feed your kids and you got to get them to bed. And you got to help them with their homework. And then you've got to do the laundry. And you got this great thing from the school and it says, come to this workshop. I don't want to work anymore. I'm not going to a workshop, and he was like, so what can we call it that it's going to really get people to come in? And so just those kinds of little changes, like let's not call it a parenting workshop. What's wrong with my parenting? What are you saying? So parents they're not looking for what we're selling. So we can sell the same thing, but we just have to put the name on it that is really how to keep your kids off the screen or whatever, so really give the parents what they're looking for because they are looking for that. And so we need to just speak to them in real language about what we have to offer. And I think we'll have more success. Yeah. Yeah.
Educators for years have been saying, in many cases, how do we get parents in? And to your point, worked all day, got to come home, do this, this, and this. You can give them dinner, maybe. I'm not sure. I do know a long time ago when I was principal, so we had a dinner.
Yes.
Then we had the workshop. And, we get ribs and we have to listen. Oh, okay, she's good. But
Yes.
So I don't have the answer, but good luck. That's my question.
Thank you. Okay, one of the other things that was not in the last presentation was the kind of money that we spend in the LCAP. And so I thought you might enjoy seeing that as well. So that's what that slide is all about. one thing that you may or may not know is that we're required to have a certain percentage of that $17.6 million spent on students who are considered unduplicated. So they are foster students, English learners, and students from homes that are socially, economically disadvantaged. And so we're required to spend, I think it was 18 point, better not quote me on it, 18 point something percent. And we're spending like 31% on those particular students. And so we're definitely going above and beyond because they're important. I think that's it. Yeah, do you guys have any questions?
No, this is very nice.
Good.
Same.
Yes, yes.
The same goals.
Same categories, and it's like, what am I looking for in here? So I think that was really great. Thank you.
It was
Yeah,
very,
I-
very helpful.
I agree with Donna. You've made this really just done a fantastic job of presenting it. And thank you for addressing just some of the things we talked about. It's super helpful. Thank you so much.
Any other questions, comments? Do we have a motion?
Oh, I'll move that we approve the last of the 3-year cycle of LCAP for 20, whatever it is.
24,
27.
27. I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is approved.
Ooh.
Thank you. Oh, good. We have resolution number 2625 to establish an early primary program.
Yes, so these next three are going to be pretty quick. I have myself a little note here. So I say, okay, so the early primary program, let me explain what that is and what that means. In California, you're only allowed to have a maximum of 4 hours of instructional time for kindergarten, unless you have this early primary program, which matches the kindergarten schedule up to the rest of elementary, or like the first and second grade. So we have actually been operating for a number of years I'm not going to say the V word, violation of the of the requirement. So we need to have this early primary program resolution in place so that our kindergarten can be longer than 4 hours. And then on top of that, when we started talking to the state about having a split day TK, if we needed to go that route so that we could have like a morning TK and an afternoon TK, keeping in mind they would still be there during the day for an ELOP, so they would have enrichment time. Also, we would certainly have every student there all day that parents needed to be there, but parents could have them enrolled in the half day and have them home the other half if they wanted to. In order to do that, meaning if you have TK, have a different amount of time in class than kindergarten, you must have this early primary program resolution in place. So that's the purpose of this resolution. The state says, well, you need to have this resolution to solve 2 of your problems.
Okay, I move we approve resolution 26-25. We have a majority.
President Bottmissel,
Aye.
Vice President Del Rey, Trustee McAllister, Trustee Velasquez,
Aye.
Trustee Lopez Jimenez. Thank you.
That was 2 minutes. Let's see if the next one can be.
Okay,
2.
Bell's schedule, ding-a-ling.
Okay, so you are actually not required to approve bell schedules, but I know you like to know what we're doing, right? You like to know what's going on. People will ask you questions. All right, so HES and FMC are both moving to an early release day for next year. It is essentially the same schedule that students currently have, where they go to enrichment for half a day every week. However, we will be moving our bell, so we're changing the bell schedule in order to use ELOP funding for that enrichment program. Buses will run at usual time. Parents will be encouraged to pick students up at usual time, but a caveat, we will also let them know if you need to schedule a doctor appointment, if you need to schedule a dentist appointment, if you need to go get your passport renewed, because we have people out for that all the time, then do it on Wednesday afternoons because your students will not be considered out of school. So, yeah.
Well, gets at the chronic absenteeism too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, so they may miss some of their enrichment. So the other thing is we have a lot more enrichment that will be going on because it'll be the whole school at one time. And so we've added lots of cool things, like there's a puppeteering class that's going to be happening now that's kind of like a theater / making your own puppets. That's kind of fun. Off the top of my head, I'm challenged to remember them all, but we could put it in an update so you could see all those at the beginning of the year. Does that sound good? Great.
Go ahead.
Well, and then I'm going to talk about junior high and high school too, but are there questions about elementary?
So the new TK schedule is not reflected on this.
No, because we are only going to go to that if we have an excess of students beyond 40 enrolled TKers.
Which we do not currently.
We do not currently.
So what, I'm sorry, explain that again. Say that again.
So we can have up to 20 students in each TK class. We currently have 2 TK teachers, so that's 40 students max. So once we hit that number, then we're going to split them into
We'd have to go
morning
to,
and afternoon groups so that we can have smaller numbers of children in each group.
Right.
And the teachers will each have 2 groups instead.
then they'd still remain in school through the ELOP program. Yeah.
Yes.
So that was
Their
all
whole
talked
schedule
about.
Going to be a little different.
It could be, but I don't think it will be.
Okay.
Yeah. At this point, we're not thinking we're going to have more than 40.
But and from the parent point of view, we'll be able to run TK on a slightly shorter schedule. And then our hope would be to create sort of a preschool environment through ELOP, whether it's before they go to TK or after, so that they're still getting a great experience that doesn't totally change everything. Yeah. So it wouldn't change the hours that kids are on campus.
No. And really, it wouldn't really change much of what they're doing because
No.
right now the afternoon is pretty much a very exploratory time. And so it would just be that either your morning or your afternoon was an exploratory time and your content time was one or the other of those. They would still get all of the same things like Spanish and library and enrichment. They would still get all of those things.
Whatever. Thank you for explaining that it's the same amount of enrichment time because that was not clear to me. So thank you for
Yeah, it
explaining.
just enables us to spend our ELOP money on it and frees up general fund dollars. Yeah.
So I'm a parent and I've got a first grader who has a minimum day on Thursday. And I have a fourth grader who has a minimum day on Wednesday. Is that correct?
Correct. However, we encourage them to stay for the enrichment activities, and the buses will run at the usual time,
Those
not
are
the
fake
early time.
minimum days.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So
Providing.
we will
That's
very,
not on record, is it?
we will very clearly explain to parents that the enrichment, after enrichment is the time to come pick up your kid. That's truly when we want you to consider the school day ending, but the bell does ring early. So go feel free if you want to make your appointments.
The principals don't even really want to tell the families. They just want them to come and stay in
Yeah.
school.
Thank
But I
you.
said, look, tell them so that they can schedule those appointments on
Right.
that afternoon if they need to have an appointment time. So, yeah.
So this Fitch Mountain says Wednesday, 3rd grade. Is it really only
No.
3rd grade?
Does it say only?
Yeah.
Oh,
It says 3rd grade. And then I'm like, only 3rd grade?
no, it's the whole school at one
I
time.
figured,
Mhm.
because I'm like, what? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to talk just a little bit about the junior high. So last year you approved, or well, were informed about a bell schedule change at the junior high. And that gave them a pretty wildly different schedule every day. So this schedule now, upon reflection and upon a year of using that schedule, they have some refinements to it. So on Mondays, rather than having every class on Monday, they're not going to have 7th period. That gives them time during the day for tier 2. They're calling it academic. I'm sorry, it's not right in front of me, but it's
Academy.
academy. Yeah, they're calling it academy. And so during academy, students will be assigned to whether they need additional support in a particular area, if they need enhancement in a particular area, if they're doing great and everything's fine, and they might go to a robotics session, or they might go to an extra volleyball time. Like, this is an in the school day academy time that will be just for what kids need. It's kind of like WIN time in elementary, except it's only once a week at this time. Going to see how this works, like check it out, and then we'll know what we want to do in the future.
It's similar. It encompasses kind of the flex model that they had after school with sort of these enriching activities that kids would attend. Just wasn't as well attended as we had hoped. So we'll do those types of flex enriching activities as well as having built-in time to do intervention. Right?
And
So there's no, I'm sorry.
And then on Tuesday through Friday, they will have a consistent time when they're getting out instead of it being different times most of those days. And there still will be tutoring time after, like the power hour, those kinds of things. And some teachers will continue to do some flex opportunities for students on ELOP's dime.
And what day is power?
I don't know. Yeah.
Mondays.
It's in Monday. Mm-hmm.
So the main change for a parent is that there's no early release day
Yep.
now.
Correct.
2:30 and 3:10 was the old Monday anyway.
Yep.
So now it's basically folding in that, what would be power hour into the school day.
Yes.
And taking away 7th period
from that specific day.
But they'll still receive the same amount of time in a 7th period class because they'll have it every day on Tuesday through Thursday, or Tuesday
It's
through Friday.
Very similar to the high school schedule that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The academy is not it sounds almost like you get a reward and you get a punishment, and we don't.
No, because it's a
Okay.
reward if you need support, and we're giving that to you during the school day and not asking you to come after school to receive it. That's a bonus.
Well, I'm not saying I'm not saying we don't need this.
That's the way it looks.
It feels like that's how it can feel.
I have to go there.
I mean, it also feels that way when they have to have an intervention class and don't get to take an elective,
That's
right?
true too.
So-
Well, the other piece of it
Yeah.
that I'll add in is that I would love to see all of our secondary move towards a model where there is an opportunity for all the teachers to have office hours where students can check in with their teachers, and the expectation is that they're going to be available to answer questions. Because something that has come up approximately 1 million times in the McAllister family is like whether some homework assignment is finished. Teachers don't want to be interrupted while they're teaching to ask individual questions about grading, which is completely understandable. And there's not a great time to know when you'll be able to confer with your teacher. So beginning in junior high, to be able to clarify, these very complex bunch of assignments that they have. Like adults would struggle to manage all of these assignments,
And
and to
7
have
different ones.
time that's built in where they can confer with their teachers is like really, really important sort of life management opportunity that has just not been there consistently. Let me say that.
Yeah.
So,
That's something the academy would provide.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
They would have that time. Also, the behavior academies that we talked about. So junior high is going to implement them there. So you're caught vaping, you're in behavior academy for the next 6 weeks.
And the beauty of the academy model
As
is
an
it's
example.
not, you're getting intervention for a short period of time until you don't need it anymore, right? Like we're gonna be able to measure when you can get out. And so it's not, you're in this intervention for a semester or a year, right? This is
Yep.
a shorter term. Let's fill these gaps while we can. We've identified them and then we'll get you out and you can go do the fun things.
So is there also going to be like D&D and
Stuff like that.
fun
Yeah,
stuff to
absolutely.
do? Okay.
Yeah.
And do
Yeah.
they pick their
I
own
don't know if D&D
schedule?
is one of
No.
them, but
Well, it
akin to that.
it
right?
was
Yeah.
it was for a
Yeah.
little while last year.
Yeah.
So
They'll, so students who need additional support, which will be determined by the PLTs when they meet and they go through the essential standards and the CFAs that they gave, and they say, this student needs additional support in this area. That's not a student decision. But then there will be things offered for students. At the beginning of the year, for I think the first 6 weeks, all students will be in some type of academic academy because they want to start that way. And then it's essentially like you can earn your way out. No, it's really a great thing because kids, if they don't like it, if they don't want to be in there, if they do see it as a punishment, well, they're going to work harder to not be there. they're looking at ways to motivate junior high kids. It's pretty motivating.
And
But
if I'm
right
being
now,
honest, the high school has tried to implement something like this for a long time since COVID.
I know.
And so it is something that Tate still aspires to. So hopefully it really takes root at the junior high and we can use it as a model at the high school. So
During.
Well,
but
and
it takes union cooperation to be able to pull it off.
I know, and
Yeah.
I understand that this is all a little bit TBD. We're going to see how it goes. I love this plan.
Yeah.
You know, I love the changes that happened last year. I love that it's being refined. I think it's amazing, and I think it just shows so much caring for the students, and you know, it's great. But I want to make sure that the students who are getting support and intervention are not missing out on the opportunities to ask questions of their teachers and so on. I'm sure that's all something that everyone will work out
Yeah.
the kinks for. But I will say that I would put this right up at the top of my list of things that have been frustrating with my kids is like, where do they get this one-on-one moment to check in with their teacher about something? And it would make everything about their experience better to just be able to have short conferences. And I think this, you know,
Yeah.
it
And
is.
that, you know, something Chris was saying, I just want to reassure a couple of trustees. Something Chris was saying, like, for example, if I'm in Math Boost, I'm in Math Boost the whole semester. But if I really just needed a little bit of additional support with a particular area, I could go to this academy for a few weeks.
Right.
And then I could do something else because I mastered that. So I definitely see it as a benefit for students.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, do they see that as a benefit?
Well, they
may
are,
not initially.
yeah, they may not, but they also might not want to eat their spinach,
That's true.
you know?
Ice cream.
Or stay off Instagram, right? I mean,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Sometimes you have
we
to
as
do what's
adults
best
have
for
to
them.
support them in the best way we know how. So this is giving us an opportunity to do that.
I think we're just playing devil's advocate.
I
And
know.
we're good at it, so.
If there's not an early release day, when do teachers have time for collaboration and planning?
So they do have that planned into their schedule. It's just not on this because this is the bell schedule. So it's after the bell, but you can see that they're out at 2:30 and their contract time doesn't end until 4.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's plenty of time baked in.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
And maybe we could figure out some drop-in office hour type thing too, so, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea
Yeah.
to add that. The high school schedule has not changed at all. The Marcy Becerra Academy schedule, the time that students are in the classes has not really changed, but the groupings of when they're doing things and where that time is has shifted to Tuesday through Friday because with only one teacher, so there's a teacher and a counselor for Marcy Becerra Academy, and with only one teacher, we need to give that person some time when they're not with all the children all day long. So we've done that for Monday because that person is planning internships for those students and, you know, needs to be able to go out and meet in the community.
Gotta get out.
All of those kinds of things. So that's what the Mondays of kind of like that planning or prep time are for.
Yeah, and the Mondays for the kids side provide an extended period of time where they could do an internship or get a job or take a JC class, that kind of thing. too.
And they did all take a JC class this last year. And they got support in learning how to take the bus down there.
Yeah,
Isn't that great? Yeah. Okay.
so those are our bell schedules.
So the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 with MBA, is that groupings of students?
No,
Period?
it's periods.
Oh, it is, okay. Thanks.
Yeah, periods.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
You're
And,
welcome.
you're on
Last
again.
but
One more
not
time.
least, so this is actually procedural. We do have 2 performing arts courses that are changing names. We have some performing arts, some VAPA classes that due to a retirement, we will not be using next year. So we needed to be able to shift those Proposition 28 funds to some other classes. You cannot do that for an existing class. So these are 2 new classes. So rather than guitar band, we have modern guitar or modern band. Oh,
Yes.
guitar fundamentals. Oh, and then modern band is
Yeah.
the other one. Yeah, yeah. I was putting those 2 together in my head. They, so the courses are not changing much. but they are new enough.
They're changing enough to justify the expenditure. Yes.
Yes.
Questions, comments? We have a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent.
Yay.
It's hot in here. Yeah. The HVAC does not work though. So yeah. But I think the second half is going to go faster. You want to take a quick break or do you want to run? Yeah, to take a couple minute break and go in there. Sure.
Okay, we'll be back at 4 to 2.
Yeah, like 2 minutes. Is the door open?
Yeah, you just got to go. You have to go around.
Does
In 1993.
Yeah, which I believe was.
anybody else want water?
That's like double minimum wage at the time. Yeah. I mean, I started at Burger King in like 89 for $3.75. Yeah. But that was, and then I remember it went up to like 4.25 and I was like, yes.
What I would eat.
Okay, had a report. No. CSEA, no. Board of Trustees? No.
I'd like to just say one thing.
Please.
I really, really enjoyed all three graduations.
Yes.
And I want to extend a compliment to Tate and to Nicole for two really spectacular events. And the feedback that I got from parents is that they were really pleased with how that went. Lots and lots of wonderful comments.
Yeah, they were wonderful celebrations.
Thank you, Judy. That's
Appreciate it.
right on.
Need to
Nobody here
continue.
disagrees and we all vehemently agree.
Well, I don't really care what anybody disagrees or not. Was my opinion. I don't care whether you
I know,
agree.
yeah, you know, but I'm just telling you. All right, school business resolution number 2626, requesting a unification feasibility study.
This is something that we bantered about for years, and the moment has arrived. In your packets, you will find a letter that Donna and Mike and I worked on and sent to the Geyserville Board of Trustees, as well as their superintendent last week, informing them that this was coming. And I have talked with folks at SCO, but what you have before you is a resolution to ask that the Sonoma County Office of Education conduct a study to see what the merits of consolidating the Geyserville and the Healdsburg Unified School Districts would be or not be, right? And from there, once a study is conducted, it will take about 12 months probably to have a full study done. We can talk about next steps, but right now it's just about getting more information. So we are asking today that you would support this resolution so we can ask for the study.
Any questions?
I just want to point out that our goal was to do this in the most friendly and open way. And that the reason we're asking for the study is to really take an objective look at what this could be and how it can benefit both districts.
Yeah, both communities.
If it doesn't make sense,
right.
No harm done. And, but, you know, hopefully maybe there'll be some really great possible outcomes that will be exciting for everybody.
Yeah, and I think we captured that in the tone and the specifics in the letter. So, yeah.
I agree. I think it's positive for both, but again, I'm obviously looking at it from one side, but if I went up the road 7 miles, I would say, yeah, maybe it's a good idea for where I am, Geyserville, to move in this direction or to join us. All right, so I have a resolution. Do I have a motion? I will make the motion to adopt resolution 2626 requesting unification feasibility study. I need a second.
Oh, I'll second.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. It is a resolution.
President Potmissel.
Aye.
Vice President Del Rey.
Aye.
Trustee McAllister.
Aye.
Trustee Velasquez.
Aye.
Trustee Lopez Jimenez.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, that's exciting. Thank you. Next up, we have our adopted budget. We went over the budget last week in depth. It has not changed. And so we're looking, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them, but otherwise we're looking for a motion and approval.
Well, my question is similar to last time. Are the employees that were laid off returned?
No. Yeah, so and we talked about that last week. The employees that were laid off are not returned. There is some maneuvering that we're in the middle of to try and reinstate some of the hours, specifically clerical hours and then a couple other positions at the district office because there's an open position. We got to work with the union on that. That hasn't been executed yet, but I think it'll be okay. Otherwise, I don't think we've reinstated a single position. It wasn't necessarily our intent to do so. The one caveat there would be at the wellness center, the wellness coach. We would like to reinstate some of those hours. We so far have $25,000 towards that. We're working on a couple other grants that might be able to fund it. Again, though, those are 1-year grants. And so we're going to have the same conversation next year and then go back to scraping and trying to find it. So it's this unfortunate cycle that we're stuck in with the contractual obligations we have for employee notification. So, yep.
I move that we adopt the budget.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we have a litany of resolutions that enable us to close out accounts and keep cash on hand or over the summer and just be able to close out the budget, start the new budget. First one is Resolution 2627, which authorizes us to make budget transfers between fund balances and expenditures at the close of the year.
So moved.
Second?
President Popmasil,
Aye.
Vice President Del Rey, Trustee McAllister, Trustee Velasquez,
Aye.
Trustee Lopez Jimenez. Aye. Thank you.
Next one is a resolution very similar to make temporary transfers between funds at the close of the year.
So moved.
Second.
Sorry, I have to write them down first. President
No
Popmasil,
worries.
Vice President Del Rey, Trustee McAllister, Trustee Velasquez,
Aye.
Trustee Lopez Jimenez. Thank you.
Next one is allowing us to borrow money from the county treasurer without any sort of interest or penalty, to be able to transfer funds around and make sure that we have adequate cash flow in every fund, basically.
We rarely use this.
It happens, but yeah, but it's not big dollars typically. No.
I'll move.
15 million.
No.
Second.
Yeah.
President Popmasil,
Aye.
Vice President Del Rey, Trustee McAllister,
Aye.
Trustee Velasquez,
Aye.
Trustee Lopez Jimenez. Aye. Thank you.
In board policy, I'm the only admin who has authority to sign contracts. So every year we do this, one, which authorizes both me, the DCI, that would be Tiffany, and our new chief business official, Angela, when she starts on July 1st, to be able to sign on behalf of the district for contracts.
So moved.
Second?
President Popmasil,
Aye.
Vice President Del Rey, Trustee McAllister, Trustee Velasquez,
Aye.
Trustee Lopez Jimenez.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next one's declaration of indefinite salaries. This gives us the ability to give a retroactive raise to a date that has already passed. Typically, we are giving raises in October, November, back to July 1st. So we enact this every year.
So moved.
Second?
President Popmasil,
Aye.
Vice President Del Rey, Trustee McAllister, Trustee Velasquez,
Aye.
Trustee Lopez Jimenez.
Aye.
Thank you.
We have an applicant for the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, Shannon Hausman. She's a teacher at Alexander Valley School, I believe second grade. She has had 3 children go through our schools, Autumn, Nathan, and Brandon, who just graduated this year, and is interested in serving on our Bond Oversight Committee as a community member.
Very nice.
Of adoption of the applicant for Citizen Bond Oversight Committee for Measure DNR.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
Thank you. I'll just stay up here, Tiffany. Surplus materials is a lot of old curriculum. We don't need any more in books.
Classes.
You know, we're getting that.
Yeah, because we just adopted, so.
Yeah. Travel, yeah.
Yeah, you never know
Go camp.
what gypsy might be interested, right? Yeah.
I was on right.
So moved. Oh, yeah, so moved. President Popmasil, Vice President Del Rey, Trustee McAllister, Trustee Velasquez,
Aye.
Trustee Lopez Jimenez.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one is a contract. So I'm going to ask for a little bit of ambiguity, but we've secured contracts, and you have one on your blotter as well, from 3 different places for work to be done on the strategic plan in terms of communications and promotion of the said strategic plan. We got one from Wine Country Creative, which is run by Tiffany's husband, Dan. That's his side business. He does work for the Ukiah School District in their communications. He is the communications department there, and actually just won a national award for their communications and campaign around their strategic plan that I think they implemented starting 2 years ago. The second is from a nationally recognized firm that is out of San Francisco called VMA. They do work with schools specifically, so they have some educational expertise. And then the third one is from a local person who works in marketing, Pembroke. Doesn't necessarily work. I don't know if she's ever worked with schools. She's worked with government agencies, though, around similar types of things. You will see that cost doesn't widely vary. However, the costs involved with both VMA and Pembroke are both just kind of the outset costs that if we were to only do that with Wine Country Creative, that would be much cheaper. I'm asking you to approve up to $40,000 to work with Wine Country Creative because, excuse me. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, never mind.
You said I thought you were going to say something.
No, it's
No. You have the original from Wine Country in your packet, right? Yeah. Dan and I have been going back and forth over reworking that contract, and I'm in June gloom in my brain, I think. Like I'm not communicating very well with him right now. But the thing that stands out about his contract for me is not only will we have a strategic plan with all the same things that VMA and Pembroke would do at the outset in terms of creating materials for both staff and parents to have, but also a campaign to help create buy-in. And I think that the buy-in, while it is important with the community, I think the buy-in that can be created through a thoughtful campaign and somebody who's done this in other places, specifically around communications with staff, is important. And he's been able to accomplish that in his district and kind of bake the strategic plan into the DNA. It is not, let me clarify, like just because he's marketed it and they're making stickers and posters, right? He's giving the principals and the district administration specific talking points and ideas in how to support it on a consistent basis so that people buy in. And so I think that's a difference maker in the plan that we have from Wine Country Creative versus VMA and Pembroke. I don't know that Pembroke would have that expertise. VMA would in-house, but their price point for the outset of the initial materials was pretty high to begin with. And I don't want to spend that kind of money from the get-go. So what I'm asking is that you would approve kind of the structure of Wine Country Creative's initial offer or initial contract there, and then I'm going to work out some specifics with Dan around deliverables, when and how, and things like that, but would not go north of $40,000. So I do think this is an important next step in the strategic plan process. When we saw I'm going to forget their names, Menifee and Visalia, both at CSBA. They both had lots of promotional materials that were used to create buy-in, and some of them better than others, right? So I'll be working closely with him to make sure that, and obviously Tiffany will too, to make sure it's in line with what we want to do. So questions, thoughts? We did meet with our communications subcommittee about this, and I got some good feedback specifically from Holly Fox, who is a marketing professional, who had some ideas, and that's those based on that feedback. That's what I've been going back and forth with Dan. So,
Well, I move that we accept your proposal. I don't know exactly how to phrase that.
Sorry, I know we have a motion on the table. Sorry, I thought you were going to make
It's
a
okay.
comment.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
yeah.
Comment.
I'm concerned about the timing of this, which is something that I feel like we had some concerns about district finances that fell upon our staff, most importantly. And I am so much in favor of what we're doing with our strategic plan, and having heard from those schools that had, there were people who had in-house communications professionals that were working on everything that was going on within the district. And the benefit was just crystal clear. Like, it was so clear that it was really creating a culture and a lot of buy-in across the board. And I'm impressed with the materials that we've seen too for this project. I just have some concerns about the financial part of it and the timing of the financial part of it, and sort of like, I just want to make sure that everything that we're doing is kind of baked before we're communicating about it. And I imagine that, yeah. So those are my concerns.
No, I hear, and I share your concerns. I think for me, trying to have something ready to go in the early fall so that we don't miss the opportunity at the outset of school to sort of create momentum around this overrode some of those same concerns you had. But I certainly appreciate where you're coming from and would understand if you guys wanted to wait. So,
And can I also just ask you, like, do you feel like we're in a situation where like momentum on this can be spread out across a reasonable timeline, like, because dependent on what's happening with the strategic plan and sort of like, I totally understand wanting to have something in place for the beginning of school, but is this something that we can do as needed as
Yeah,
we
I
move
mean,
forward?
if I understand your question, like kind of maybe two different ways to look at it. Could we wait a little bit? Yeah, we probably could. Also, in the proposal that I'm suggesting we adopt, there is some initial outset stuff done, and then there's a monthly that goes on, and the monthly is cancelable after a couple months, and so that there's some flexibility baked into that too. That gives us some financial flexibility. So
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. I mean, I like this. It's nice. It's nice to get the word out. I'm not sure what the word is. I want to be polite. Asked about 50 students, told 50 students that they came in illegally. Illegal as in they lied on the applications and the addresses that they gave. So clearly people want to be here. I mean, I see that. Saying how good we are, what we're doing is great. I totally agree. I mean, I think the communication folks have said for years now, we need to get the word out, et cetera. As well as where are we doing with the strategic plan. I do have some concerns. As you mentioned, the wellness center is not bagged. There are probably one or two other positions or partial positions that could be partially, if not fully funded with this, what is it, 45,000? Is that? 40,000. So I'm having a problem saying now is a good time to do this. I recall you in February hesitating on providing an increased stipend to these women here and myself because it would cost a para. And this is about close to the same funding. And I'm still, it's like, okay, I don't see at this point that the funding is in the budget if we're going to spend it. And again, I like this, I really do. But I don't see it. This is the timing. If we need to still see where we are with our budget in order to bring people back. If we can bring them back,
I understand where you're coming from.
So I'm really in favor of this
I
and
understand.
expending it right now. And I'm not concerned about the wider community. I'm concerned about the staff buying into the strategic plan. And what this does is to provide a framework for the school administrators and any leadership team to know how to go about getting that staff buy-in. When you've got, well, and I know things have changed since I was in the classroom, but I know that when you have something like this document and you're pushing this, there's going to be people who are going to put their brakes on that have to deliver this. I mean, this is their job now because we've approved this strategic plan. Now we have to convince them that it is what they want to do. And I think that if we don't do those steps that we need to take right now, then we've got another huge document that is not going to be implemented. It's as black and white to me as that, is that we did. Actually, the board put time into this strategic planning. We have used huge amount of our staff time to do the how that we wanted done. And I don't want to undercut that because this, to me, is the vision for the next 7 years of what this district is going to accomplish. And without this piece, I think that we've got a document that has the potential of just dying. And I understand what you're talking about, Mike,
Yeah,
but
I know.
I don't take the same thing. For one thing, increasing the stipend for trustees is
Okay,
not.
let's put that over there.
No, I know.
All right.
When Chris brought the para issue to us and the reduction in para services, he also brought, and maybe it was you who brought it, Karen, the plan for staffing paras for the primary grades. And we agreed that we were going to have 3 hours of para time.
Mhm.
And so some of that layoff came from that.
I understand.
This is our plan. This is all we're going to give them. We're not going to have teachers coming to us and saying, oh, I need 6 hours of para time, or I need something. This is our standard of what we are supplying now to our primary teachers. We also have the, I hate calling it an encroachment, but the special ed.
Transfer of funds from general fund to special
the
education.
Transfer of funds, thank you. I'm taking
3.8 million, yeah.
encroachment out of my vocabulary. The transfer of funds for that, and we don't know about that kind of para thing, and we might have to add. We don't know.
It is likely.
But anyway, that's all. I just am very much in favor of doing this and doing this the right way so that we get what our intention is out of this strategic plan.
Judy, I find that very persuasive, and I thank you for saying that, because I also think that we did a lot of staff did a lot of what we might have hired someone to help us do in terms of getting this document made and having it reflect so closely, I think, the values that we want to see there, plus the planning that we want to see there. And I think you're right. It could just be like, relegated to the back room, somewhere. And I was really, really clear when we heard from the schools that had successfully done this, that communication was a giant part of it. So I really find that very persuasive, and I appreciate you saying all of that, because I think you're right. This is where the actual,
The rubber hits the road.
Donna, you want to say something?
Just real quick and then
Yes, please.
go ahead. I will point out, like $40,000, I sort of, maybe I committed, we used to call, there's a trainer, I never get out of my head when you over assume, they called it assume-aside. Maybe I committed assume-aside. But in my mind, it was baked in, not that figure, but that we would do something like this with our strategic plan, right? So I've always been operating under this assumption, because that's what we saw as exemplars from the two districts, and both districts use consultants even just to construct the strategic plan, to Rose's point. Also, that figure does not fund a single position we laid off fully, right? The layoffs that occurred those full-time positions were much more expensive than this specific figure. So I just wanted to say that, like, it has been an assumption since the outset that we would do it. I completely understand where any caution is coming from. I'm more cautionary usually around the budget than anybody besides Debbie. And so I'm not going to argue with you on that point, but I do want to point out, like, I've been operating with that assumption. That's why it's before you. So.
And I'm sorry.
No, go
Donna,
ahead.
you want to speak? Just in response, trying to say this, I'm not even professional, but I believe with our strategic plan and the leadership that we have at the elementaries, HES, FMC, at the junior high school, and at the high school, those four leaders, if you will ensure that the strategic plan is alive and moving forward. I mean, as I read it, I could vision different, again, the administrators working with staff, et cetera.
And I agree with you, Mike. That was going to be a point I made and I forgot.
I mean, and again, I like this. When I saw it, was it a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whenever we saw it, And I kept thinking, well, and what came to my mind, and you brought it up, is the Wellness Center and others. But it was like, and I have and something that was said at the last meeting, I believe, is, this is not student facing. It's not somebody in front of the classroom or working in the classroom or whatever. And that's my difficulty. If, there's a slew of money that comes in, then that's great. If we can put those positions that we had to eliminate, and I know we did some moving around. I'm absolutely aware of that, which is good. We got more efficient, I think is probably the word I'll use. I don't know how to say I like it, but I think the money would be better used, again, student facing, for lack of a better word. And if I had to choose, I would go to the Wellness Center, which has been, according to students and staff, has been an outstanding thing. But wherever that goes into staffing, I would advocate for that. Donna, did you want to say something?
Yes. This is a lot of money, for sure, without a doubt. I agree that we could have paid a consultant a lot of money to help us through this entire process so far, which we did not do. It was done completely in-house and I think done really well. That said, there are things that I don't think we internally have the professional skill set to do, like graphic design. Nothing personal. If anyone likes to design their own websites or blogs, but it's not anyone's job to do that. We don't have a communications thing. We've talked about this for as long as I've been on the board about, do we spend $10,000 to bring in someone part-time? How do we do this with a focus on communicating to community? This is not who this is for. And I think it was Holly that outlined a very clear, the first thing is parents, the second thing is staff, and then community is the last target for this. It's not the primary target at all. It's about really being clear to our families what this means, what this means to their kids, what we're trying to do in our district. So important to get that buy-in. We got their input. This is the outcome of that input. And then the same with staff. I think our administrators are incredibly talented, but I think they needed tools to help them do this. And I don't know that it's an 8 to 12 page saddle stitch booklet, but they need tools to do this. And there has to be proactive things happening to get everybody on the same page, everyone using the same vocabulary, from Chris down to everybody, to the bus drivers, to everyone, as we say. And so you have to have some kind of messaging. We're not talking 100,000 flyers. It's not a grand scale, which makes it really hard to look at that price because we're a small district. We don't have 1 million parents. We don't have, 10,000 students. So it is a hard number to swallow. But that said, I think there are things in here that have to happen, and they have to happen now because this is happening, because our strategic plan is happening. We've just approved it. And what are we waiting for? Why would we wait to do the things we need to do to tell the community, the community, the parents and the staff what's happening and how this has all come together? I think it was also Holly that mentioned that some of the things that are in the tier 2 on sort of an hourly are really things we need to have up front that will really help us do things on our own moving forward,
Right.
Like a narrative, like words that can be cut and pasted by Laurel when she's doing a social media post or whatever, right? That we don't really want to wait on. We really want to have the tools we need up front. Maybe the less of the focus is social media. Maybe that can come over time. But I don't know if there are ways to prioritize things a little differently to get the things we need right now.
And that's what I'm working on with.
And that's what he's working on. All those suggestions that came from Harvard.
Right. Because, and then there's other things that can definitely, are lower priority for sure. But yeah, this is a tough amount of money to swallow. It really is. But I feel like if we don't do it, it's like we've just not wasted, but we are losing an opportunity that's right now.
Yeah.
That's at the beginning of this school year. to make this all real.
And it is a lot of money, but when you look at from the other places, looking at VMA, it's $40,000 for
I
the
know,
very
just
beginning
like the
stuff,
graphic.
right? Pembroke is about the same.
Well, and
So
yeah, and
Yeah.
I will say too, that the graphics are fun and neat, but the graphics aren't going to get the buy-in.
No.
It's going to be this
exactly, it's the campaign.
training and
Yeah.
talking and the actions that are happening on the ground.
Right.
That's where the focus needs to be. Make a nice little graphic, but don't spend $20,000 on a one-page graphic. Spend the money on the time it's going to take to actually implement and get the buy-in.
I just want to add one other thing to what you're saying, Donna, which is that I feel like when we saw this in action in other districts, that having a message that had continuity and was out there, was out there on social media, but also in everything that the school was doing, it really matters for families, I think that it's like it matters for a sense of what the culture of the district is. And the most important thing that I would say is that it holds the district accountable for what they promise to be, right? And by saying, this is who we are, this is what we're doing. And by repeating that and sort of having that be out there, it just makes it real. Like, this is the promise of what we're trying to do. And I think that speaks to the fact that we know that we already know that people want to go to the school. So this isn't about like recruitment, right? But it was really clear hearing from these other districts how much a sense of community and continuity about the district and identity created a kind of like teamwork, continuity, and stated expectation that it, made a difference, a really big difference in the community of parents and students. And, one would hope that addresses directly student, satisfaction and performance too.
Agreed.
I have a motion on the table.
You just turned your mic off, but yes.
I have a motion and I'm waiting for a second.
I'll second the motion. I would like to say also, one of the things that superintendent said, I think it was at our last meeting, was that we would have a better look at the budget in August.
Mm-hmm.
And if our wellness center person can be reinstated and other staff can be reinstated, and we still have $40,000, I believe whoever, if he's good, can probably pull this off. But I really like it. Please don't misunderstand me.
So did you just second the motion?
I seconded the motion.
Oh, well, so
I'm just making a comment.
Yeah,
Anybody
okay.
else have comments or questions?
I have a comment.
Yes.
I would vote no on that motion because I would make another motion. I'm just telling you now that, right? Just to,
On Judy's motion, you'd vote no?
I would, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if we're going to vote right now, because there's now been a second,
can-
I'm just going to tell you I'm going to vote no because I have another motion. I just don't think it's that and nothing else. Like, that's the only possible thing. So.
Okay. Well, any other comments or questions?
Can you tell us what your other motion is?
Well, we have to vote on this.
You have to vote.
Have to vote.
We don't have to, but
Can you take this motion off the table and can discuss what Donna wants to propose?
I can withdraw my second if the first wants to withdraw her first.
I don't want to withdraw my first.
She doesn't want to draw. So I have to wait for her to withdraw before I can withdraw, but that's fine. Okay, so we have a motion on the table. I will call for a vote.
Need a second.
Yeah.
I have a
second.
I second the
Seconded
motion.
it.
I second the motion just to move it forward. No. I rescind it only. I can't rescind unless she rescinds.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's how
I
it
don't
works.
think. Yeah,
Anyhow,
go ahead.
I have no
it works
idea.
that way. But anyhow, and if I don't rescind, then it still goes. But it doesn't matter. We're going to move forward on this. Can we have a vote, please? Those in favor of whatever that is.
It was Wine Country created for $40,000. Yeah.
In the interest of collegiality here, I think the whole point is that we would have a conversation where we actually hear from all of our colleagues what we would like to do. And I don't want to vote no on Judy's motion if I don't
If you
know.
withdraw your
what-
motion, I can withdraw my second.
Well, I think Donna could make,
Can propose it.
Either way, right.
Again.
Donna could continue to discuss without making another motion.
That's correct.
And
She can.
express your
That sounds
idea,
fine.
right?
Well,
Yeah.
yes, you can.
Yeah.
So now you can talk about what you would
I
do
would
differently.
suggest maybe starting at a lower price and looking, is there a lower price that might have a better comfort level with all of us? It's still enough money to get the ball rolling, to get some of the key things done, to see what could be done for that price. And then.
What would you
So,
suggest as a price?
25,000.
so when I looked at the proposal initially, there was the initial price. And then there was the second year, the tier 2 price.
Mhm.
I always assumed
What was tier 1?
It was, I'm
was-
looking at it right now, and if I'm looking at this correctly, it's low end and then you have the high end of like
14 to
what it
18.
is. Yeah, and it's 14 is low end, high end is like $18,000.
Mhm.
And at the very bottom, when you sum up all the numbers, on the low end, it's looking around $31,000. And on the higher end, it's looking at $40,000. And that's like including the optional stuff.
But
right?
there
But if you do
was
that-
the tier 1 and
I
the tier 2. So if we talk about, I'm just was assuming, I shouldn't make assumptions, that when you're talking to Dan about
Tier
this,
1 and tier 2 stuff, yeah.
you're talking about tier 1 stuff, which is a lot of what Holly was talking about launching. And that's not $40,000. That's 25.
Holly also suggested that some of those.
Some of the
things
tier
would
2 move
come
into
to
tier
fruit
1.
and Would get pushed up instead of waiting and doing.
Yes,
monthly.
but some of the things
Be more
in
than-
tier 1 were taken off too,
So
by her.
So my response to that is I understand, and I don't disagree with your strategy. On the other hand, I see $40,000. I have a wellness center as an example, and there's other jobs as well. And I think when all of that is resolved, I like it. I just do not see, I'll be honest with you, I don't see voting for it. I don't want to vote against it, but I won't vote for it.
So do you want me to, can I change my motion?
Yeah, we can.
yeah,
put numbers.
so
Okay.
yeah, you can rescind your motion.
Why don't you rescind your motion and I'll rescind my second and then
I'll rescind my motion.
I'll
and I
rescind my
would like to
second.
change it to,
now you make a new motion.
I make a new motion that we
Limit it to 25.
limit it to 25,000.
At least as
Yeah, so
whatever you agree with.
it's not unreasonable.
For
and, like,
for everything.
perhaps there's
that-
ongoing later after we see more
Correct,
budgetary
and we
picture.
can approve
Yeah,
that If there's other.
If there's,
checks
I
that-
understand
There's-
where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Well, it also enables us to move forward with
Correct.
something that would be ready for the beginning of the school year around the tier 1 stuff, and then to have greater clarity, about what potentially greater clarity about what we want to do going forward. And it always can come back to us for the
Yes.
monthly tier 2. I mean, we've vetted it quite a lot tonight, so.
And
Um,
I will second the motion again. And I will also say, even though I seconded the motion, it's not student facing. We have some other issues that can be filled once those are filled. Whether it's $10,000, $15,000 or $25,000 to start with, or do the whole contract at 40 if the money's there. Again, I like it. I just, at this point in time, I can't support it. I am seconding the motion.
He's seconding, but he's going to vote as he,
I'm not going to vote
he's
for
going to
it.
vote his conscience, which is exactly what we're all here.
I'm half joking too that I really don't like the grapevine.
Oh, no, that's already out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like.
But we do like rooted.
Not the grapevine, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any final comments?
So the motion.
All right.
So let me translate. So there's a motion and a second for a contract for $25,000 with Wine Country, up to 25,000 with Wine Country Creative to do as much of the initial stuff as we can pull off, master narrative being one of the major parts. So I completely understand it and am comfortable talking to him about it. Yeah.
Yeah, just-
So, yeah.
got this. All right, I will call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
I will abstain.
You can't abstain unless you have a conflict of interest.
I can abstain.
You can just say no.
Legally, it's only if there's a
No,
conflict of
no,
interest.
it's only, you
Okay.
can only, trust
Yeah.
me, I've researched it.
Okay.
You can't abstain.
Yeah.
But
Why don't you just vote no? Because you don't agree with this. I'm just curious why
I
you
don't
wouldn't
vote
go
no
spend
because
the-
I'm not against the concept of it, but I'm not
But you
gonna.
are, you're against spending the money.
I'm against spending money now. which
So
is
that's a
why-
no. That's what we just agreed to. Why not? I guess I don't understand. Why you
Okay,
say no.
explain it to you later.
No, just.
We
no.
have one more thing, one more thing. That's all.
Yeah, Karen.
I love that you always save the best for last.
Always.
All right, we have one revised job description. It's a very simple one. We're just wanting to revise the title of this job description to best suit the district or to best serve the district. And so we want to remove alternative education out of the title, and it would just be social worker / counselor job description. And so because the timing, we'd love to have your vote tonight instead of waiting to add it to consent.
So moved.
So it's gonna be
Second.
social worker, counselor, job,
Job description.
that's also
Yeah.
the.
I will second that.
education.
And
Thank
this-
you.
This change just allows the job.
It's just,
But
it
broad-
serves, it will serve all, it
More
can serve
students.
all of the
Thank you.
students.
We could open the position at any campus.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Well, thank you.
Any
Thank you.
Board of Trustee reports,
Quick.
comments, requests for information?
No.
Seeing none. Anything for closed session? Seeing none. Next meeting is Wednesday, August the 19th, 2026, here in the City Hall at, I believe, 5 o'clock.
Reminds me of the old.
Thank
days
you.
when we had binders.
Oh,
Can you
let me-
imagine?